think they do, but I mean, so Fort Dix is probably one of the, well, it's like one of the biggest federal prisons in the country, but it's also one of the biggest ones for like corruption and contraband.
Now, Fort Dix, let's get the audience straight. Fort Dix is a camp and low facility with approximately 7,500 prisoners, 5,000 in the lows.
Yeah, and then I think another 500 or so in the camp.
Okay, so you're talking about 4,000 inmates, give or take.
Like 6,000, I would say.
Wow,
yeah,
6,000 inmates.
Yeah.
And they're all in Fort Dix. And Fort Dix is in New Jersey. It's an Army base.
It's an old Army barracks. There's 2 sides to the compound. You're housed in old barracks. It's 12-man rooms, 6 bunk beds, big table. There's no locks on the doors. Just the unit itself is locked, and the unit's 3 floors. The bottom floor, you have a pool hall. You have a little microwave room. You got a TV room. And then the second and third floor, there's 2 bathrooms on each floor, showers. It's old brick. Like, it's disgusting, the bathrooms are.
What Diddy faces in Fort Dix Federal Prison. It's in New Jersey. A look inside the facility. As you've seen on the intro, we actually got an inmate who was actually housed in Fort Dix and what he was feeling about his experience a little bit being in the facility. We know that it was an old Army barracks. So we're going to go into a breakdown. What is Diddy's facing? We know that he requested this. Is he going to get it? This pause. That was crazy. But is he going to get the facility that he's requesting? We already know that Tenny Garagos and his people have already put in this right here. And they see it's already issued to the judge. And it says, on behalf of Mr. Combs, we respectfully request that the court strongly recommend a designation facility to the Bureau of Prisons in Mr. Combs' judgment in order to address the drug abuse issues and to maximize family visitation and rehabilitation efforts. Plus, it's close. He's from New York. It's in Jersey, so we could get what that's going on, right? We request that the court strongly recommend the Bureau of Prisons that Mr. Combs be placed at FCI Fort Dix for RDAP, which is those drug treatments and all of those things, purposes, and any other available educational and occupational programs. Thank you for your considerations. Respectfully, and you see Tenny Garagos on the actual signatures now. Is Diddy going to get that? I don't know. We know what Diddy does have. He got his 50-month sentence. Some people are saying, nah, man, he'd be home in 11. You know what I'm saying? He can be. Plus, they supposedly going to put and push for appeals. Who knows how that goes for them? But, you know, with good behavior, with this being his first-time offense, maybe that chips off some of these months anyway. So maybe he's not looking at the whole bulk of this, or maybe he is. Who knows? But if you think he's going to do the max of it, his whole term, if you think he's going to do the less, just get in the comments and let me know what y'all thinking. We're all still speculating, you know what I mean? But shout out to everybody on Go. Make sure you're all dropping likes. Make sure you are hitting the notification bells and make sure you're notified when we're dropping new content. So look, I do want to go into some breakdowns. So we're going to look at the location. I want to see if we could look at the facility. We want to see if we could see around the grounds and the streets and see what's looking like over there. So we're also going to go into some Google Earth as well. So see if we can see the facility as well from other views. So let's just see if Diddy does get this, what this looks like for him.
Yeah. The Federal Correctional Institution, Fort Dix, is a low-security federal prison in New Jersey, housing male inmates. Managed by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, it also has a minimum security satellite camp. Located in Burlington County, about 40 miles from Philadelphia, the prison is part of the Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst complex. As the largest federal prison in the U.S. by inmate population, Fort Dix is divided into 3 sections, east and west compounds, both functioning as separate low-security prisons, and a camp situated between them. In 2010, an FBI investigation uncovered that inmate Demorio McDowell was running a significant identity theft ring from within FCI Fort Dix. He and his co-conspirators targeted credit cards from major retailers like Macy's and Home Depot, racking up over $500,000 in fraudulent purchases. McDowell was sentenced to an additional 14 years in prison in 2011.
As you can see there, it was going through a little breakdown, but we are going to go into our own Google Earth thing. But I did want to bring up some footage like of the ground so that we could kind of see it from a street view besides Google Earth, which we're going to also do that. So, but the footage that we've been finding, it's really like an old place, but it's really from at the times when it was this army base and these barracks. So I'm going to go to at least a couple of those, and then we could probably bring up on Google Earth to see and make sure that the street that they're naming is actually on the Google Earth, and we can figure it all out for ourselves. So let's get to that and see if we can do that real quick.
Now we're still heading down Texas. Now, if Brian, if you could kind of veer to your left a little bit and show those buildings. Susie, the second one on the left down there is where Lester stays. Like I said, he's at a meeting right now. I'll drive down that way so we can get a shot of his building area, and it is on Nashville. Now we're going in the sun. Hopefully this doesn't mess up the quality of the film. And we're pulling right in here. And this building on our left is where the officer stayed. And Lester stayed up on the third floor. So,
okay, as you just could see right there, right? We seen some from a street view. We seen him driving down like Texas Avenue and Nashville Avenue and all that. So I just wanted to go to Google Earth so that we could just get like a street view as well, and we could kind of see, as we could see here, this is like the way it was all spread out. I could imagine back in those days, but you can see we have Texas Ave here. You can see that, right? We have Texas Ave from a street level, and we have Tennessee Ave as well, right? As you can see, Texas, like I said, he named Nashville. We can see how they kind of named it out here. See Tennessee, Delaware Ave is over there as well. You see Delaware Ave, Pennsylvania Avenue, right? So you can see this like a main street, Texas Avenue, because you see some of these streets are going the opposite direction, or they're going into like cul-de-sacs and like little like roundabouts. They even have one street actually called like a roundabout. But as we could zoom out, we'll see the distance from where it's at, right? But you can see this whole grounds and how it was kind of like constructed. You see the Army and the Air Force around here. See it right there, the Army and the Air Force over here, boom. But you can kind of see Fort Dix, right? You see the facility, right? When you zoom out, you can see FCI Fort Dix, which is over here, right? So we could go to the street view of Fort Dix, right? Boom. And this is Fort Dix. Just give us a street view of it real quick. Let's spin it. I mean, we can get our own street view. My bad, y'all. This thing acting up. My bad. 360, homie. What happened to y'all? 360s. Hold up. Let's go down the way. Let's go down the way. Go down the way. You can see it kind of from like a street view, right? Well, let me dismiss this. Let me back up out of here. And let me get it from here again. All right, cool. Let me get the 3D on Fort Dix, though. I don't want that. I want the 3D on it, though. That's what I'm saying. Hartford Street. Gloucester Street. See, this is the facility, as you can see it. Look. It's a big facility, though. Right? So then I also want to see, but I do want to get back to this guy, Ian Bick. I think his name is Ian Bick. I do want to get back to Ian Bick because he was there as well. So let's hear more about some stories where Ian Bick was talking about how when he was getting housed there, and he also went through that little journey through Brooklyn. He came from, I think, where was it he was at? Can't remember, if it was Virginia or so, when he came through from a first location where he came from. But he ended up going through Brooklyn, just like Diddy went, and then going to Fort Dix right after. You know what I mean? And he actually got some inside plug to let him know that he was going to Fort Dix because he had some kind of a plug inside that actually let him know when he didn't have to get that information. So everybody, make sure you're dropping a like, make sure you're sharing the video. Hopefully this is informative, but I just want to see for us, you know what I mean, for ourselves, like, what is it like? Let's hear some stories. Let's see the facility. Let's look at it. Let's see the grounds, whatever the case may be. Let's just start figuring out what this looks like on paper, at least on screen. If Diddy gets his request granted, if he has a whole nother thing that he got to deal with, and the judge gives him a whole nother place, and maybe his family got to travel farther, does that help his rehabilitation process? You know what I'm saying? You know, you in jail, son. You done did a crime, so nobody cares if you feel good or nothing. You're going to have to rehabilitate. But I'm just saying, if you really want a person to rehabilitate, and he's in a close facility, close to his children, he could get a chance to see his children, and he's in all of these RDAP programs, and he's doing all the things that he has to do, treatment programs and such, maybe this can be an easier road to rehabilitation. So tell me what y'all thinking about that. Let's get back to the video, and we're going to actually see what Ian Bick is talking about.
The Bureau of Prisons, Federal Bureau of Prisons, was there to pick me up and transport me. And I go back through the loading dock, and same process, only this time you're on a giant bus, and there's inmates from different prisons, from different detention centers, from county jails, all there, waiting to be transported to the next designation. And they picked me up, and they actually brought us to Danbury, my hometown, the Danbury Federal Prison, the notorious Danbury Federal Prison. And I thought I was getting off there, but I wasn't. They were picking up more inmates, dropping off inmates, and then back on the road, and we were heading to Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Detention Center. And that was a whole, another experience, going to one of those large tower detention centers. And the Brooklyn Detention Center mirrors the Wyatt Detention Center. It's a pre-holding facility, waiting trial, waiting sentencing. This time you're given, brown full jumpsuits. And I was celled up with this guy who was like a snitch for the cartel, at the Philadelphia cartel, for like 5 or 6 years. And he was sentenced to there because that was the only place he was safe. At these detention centers, no one's really checking paperwork because no one has paperwork to check. Everyone's kind of like in limbo. There's not really much violence. Occasionally there's a fight or two, but it's the same thing day after day. You're waking up, getting out of your cell, walking around these units. You could go crazy. I was lucky. I found some guys that I played with Monopoly with every day. There was a Monopoly board, and we just sat there for hours playing Monopoly, and that helped pass the time. And I didn't have any visits. I just had phone calls. And what was keeping me hopeful and kind of keeping me going was that my judge was now that I got sentenced, he was able to file an appeal. You have to wait till you're sentenced to the Second Circuit Court, two appeals. One, notice of appeal for my case and the verdict, and two, for bond pending appeal. So it's common that you could, possibly, if you have a good appeal case, that you could get bond pending appeal. And we were confident that I would get that. And, every day I was calling him, hey, have you heard any news? What's going on? Because I'm just itching to get out. And I just, I remember making a plan saying, like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to go work at Whole Foods. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to start this. And I just really wanted to, I just wanted to be successful. I knew it, like, in my mind, success would be like the best revenge. And so, that kept me alive. And then 3 weeks later, I'm finally transferred to my designation, which my attorney had told me on the phone that none of the counselors or anything will tell you. They're not allowed to tell you. But my attorney knew someone in the BOP who said I was going to Fort Dix, and he's like, it's a camp, nothing to worry about. You're going to a camp. Fort Dix is a good facility. And so when he told me that, I started asking people, hey, what do you know about Fort Dix? And people are like, it's sweet. It's a great spot. You're in good hands. I met another person.
Sounding like a good spot, right? He hearing it from multiple people saying, listen, it's cool. You could just go there, get your little joint down, you know what I mean? And do what you need to do. Maybe that's a good sign. Maybe that's why Diddy's pushing for it, besides the location of where it's at and the distance from maybe New York City, or maybe close to Jersey where some of his family live. Most likely he has homes in Jersey, or his family does. So I think it'd be easier for the family to get there. But as far as the facility goes, it doesn't sound like such of a bad facility. It's federal prison, so we know jail is jail. Don't get it twisted. But So far, it's not sounding that bad. Let me know what y'all thinking about it. If you know about Fort Dix, if you know anybody that been in Fort Dix, let us know what you're thinking about. Let us know what y'all think Diddy could be facing. Let us know what you think about him, the appeals. What do you think about the time breaking down, good time, all these other little factors? Maybe could chip off some months away, and maybe the sentence won't be as long as he's even thinking. Let me know what you're thinking about that.
So I was like, oh, wow, great. This is going to be good. And the bus picks very free. At the low, you know, you're surrounded by barbed wire, high security fences. It's a different ball game. And so I was taken off the, you know, prison bus with all the rest of the guys and brought to Fort Dix, where, you know, you're put through the same process, hours and hours, and then you're finally released to the yard. They have a building, they call it like the A&O building, for orientation. And that's just for individuals who are brand new, who are just getting off. And there's two sides to Fort Dix. So Fort Dix has 5,000.
Listen, like he said, as long as you got to show your paperwork, if you ain't a chomo, is the word he used, or a rat. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you're doing some weird activities, people will make you a target in there. All right, we understand Diddy got money. We get that too. So that factors in Diddy's favor. But listen to what I'm saying. Even though Diddy never had those men ever touch him, he wasn't touching the men. At least none of these men ever said that he did, right? Regardless of what the prosecution was leading with from the beginning, we was hearing all kinds of speculations about Diddy. We was thinking back to Wendy Wilder, how you doing? All type of stuff, right? But some people that you speak to, right? They'll say, nah, man, what are you talking about, bro? That's some, you know what I mean? That's some alternative flexes, bro. That's some homosexual type activities. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the fact. Some people will say this, right? So how will some people feel about that in prison? Will they feel like, oh, he was just doing his thing that was in his bedroom and being a cuck type vibe? What are they looking at this like he was trying to do some kind of homosexual type of thing? You know what I'm saying? Is people trying to use that type of stuff to maybe beef with people? These are the kind of things people use anything to beef with you, especially in prison. Any little way up, any little thing that they can use. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what. But if you really, they feel you something, and they feel you something. But tell me what you think about how you feel about that. You know, Diddy's charges, we know that he was acquitted of the other stuff. If he was convicted of all that other stuff, it would have been bad for him too. Of course, he'd had life, but then your charges of what you've been convicted of, this is like some tuition. Mad people's in there for some tuition. Then it's kind of some weird tuition because you was there. So that's what I'm saying. He just said it's either or that they get on your bumpers. Do you think that Diddy will have a problem based on some of these things? What do you think about the charges that Diddy was? What do you think about his whole case and how he was conducting his lifestyle? Do you think he was living this alternative lifestyle? And do you think that'll affect him in prison and cause some beefs or ruckus in prison? Let me know what you think about that.
Bad faith. And there are guys that will turn it down right away, and people kind of know what's up with them. So in my case, because I was a white guy and the other white guys that were with me, you're automatically labeled as a sex offender or a rat, you know, unless you're going to like a penitentiary where, you know, the Aryan Brotherhood or these white, you know, gangs are coming up to you and they'll put the press on you to see what your status is. Then, you know, you're looked at as a chomo. They called a child molester a chomo. So at Fort Dix, it's loaded with chomos, and no one hurts them, no one touches them because there's just so many of them, and it's a low security prison. So there was no like white, they call them cars in federal prison. They're not like gangs, they're cars. Which is the people you ride with essentially. Wow. And it's at least on the East Coast, the cars operate by what state you're in. So like the Connecticut car, they had the New England car, the New Jersey car, the New York car, where in Fort Dix, the New York car was the biggest. So it's not necessarily race. So it's not like white guys are coming up to me checking paperwork. It's cars that would come up to you. Technically, if someone found out I was from Connecticut, the Connecticut car, or in this case, the New England car, was supposed to come up to me, make sure I was taken care of, and check the paperwork. No one ever did that. So
your actual paperwork.
Yeah. Your paperwork means
That's a good thing. And again, they saying New York is the biggest car there as well. He said it's not just so much about race, it's about the car. You know what I'm saying? Who's from New York and all of that. They got each thing sectioned off, like he said. Maybe that could be also beneficial to Diddy being there. Maybe that's part to be why Diddy wants to be in there. You know what I'm saying? People that's in these facilities knows what's going on. There's people in jail right now that knows what's going on around you right now outside in your crib, probably even. Your homeboy call you and tell you what the hell going on in your house. I'm just saying, though. He probably knows something about something that happened on your block before you even hear about it. Because the streets and jail is connected. We know that they're interconnected. You feel me? So it just seems like a lot of pluses for Diddy, bro. If he gets a chance to get Fort Dix. You know what I'm saying? I still want to go into some other breakdown. Maybe I can find some trifling stories about this and see what's going on. But it seems like a place where people just going in there, man, getting their head down, doing their little time. They just got sentenced to whatever they sentenced to, and they doing what they doing. But he said that I saw another video where they said the inmates don't play though. They're not playing with nothing. You know what I'm saying? They was also going through something during 19, the COVID-19. They was also going through some different type of deals where we got to look inside as well. Through COVID-19, and it was so many complaints, they was letting out I think 500 inmates, 50, all kinds of inmates was getting released during that time. But during that time, you got a chance to see other parts of the actual facility because it's not that much footage of it. It's more footage of it being an army barracks, like one of the clips that I showed you. You know what I mean? It was actually 4 parts to that clip, but I just wanted us to see it because, you know, these streets haven't changed that much. And then I wanted to back it by Google Earth to show that this is named Texas Ave and Tennessee Ave and all that. And as we can see on Google Earth, all of the streets are actually named after states and stuff like that. So that's kind of how they designed that whole area. It's kind of built like a Pentagon because it got hospitals and different stuff. And then the prison is over here. He actually broke down, man. Shout out to Ian. He actually broke it down. He was there for some fraud, I think. But he actually owned a club at 18 years old. So shout out to him. And then he ended up getting caught up with the FBI. And he got sentences 36 months. So shout out to him for making it back from there. You know what I mean? Maybe he had a couple of dollars. Maybe I helped him along the way. Maybe he met a couple of good people along that way too as well. Free everybody that's in that can that deserve to be freed. You know what I mean? Period. You know what I'm saying? If you're in there for some weird stuff and all that, got nothing to do with that, brother. You know what I'm saying? Brother, sister, whoever. You know what I'm saying? If you be doing some weird stuff, I mean, you need to be in there and dealing with yourself and rehabilitating if you're doing some weird stuff. This is what we on. You know what I'm saying? We don't need our children corrupted. We don't need, especially us, corrupting our own children. You know what I mean? Get in the comments. Let me know what you think about Diddy's situation, what you think about his chances of all of this. Tell me what y'all thinking, man. Does he do a few months? Do we do the whole term? Was 50 months enough? What was the judge too lenient? Was the judge too harsh? Whatever you feeling about this, get in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking about it. But I will be updating y'all all the time on this trial and any other updates as we get updated. I'll always update y'all. So make sure y'all checking the shorts. Make sure y'all checking the upload section, hitting the notification bells on to all. If you're not getting my notifications, which most likely you're not because YouTube does that a lot, unsubscribe, subscribe back, and put the notification bells on to all.
All my niggas from the Hooters. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been a threat. You been stuck in the all my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas from the Hooters. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas